Okay, so I am going to do my first vlog. Sorry, moving you. Since the recent Dr. Phil episode and all of the inspirational blogs and testimonials and things like that of people with Lyme disease, because of really a lot of the attention that it's been getting from the massive amounts of people that have this disease, that suffer every day with this disease, with Lyme disease, and a lot of people don't even know that they have it, which is really why I feel like I'm almost obligated to put my story out there, along with a lot of the people that have been brave enough to share their painful stories. I in particular know how painful that this disease, how painful that it can get. I am 25 years old, and I've had this disease most likely since I was about 5 years old, based on how many antibodies my body has tried to produce to get rid of this disease. When I hit puberty, about age 10, 11, is really when internally I knew something was really wrong. I was misdiagnosed at age 11 or 12 with depression, and then shortly after that was diagnosed with bipolar, and in middle school dealt with a lot of learning disorders that I developed that were really kind of out of the blue, and did really well as a child, was really smart, and everything just kind of should hit the fan. And my parents didn't know what happened to their amazing little girl, and all of a sudden they had this person that they didn't really know who it was anymore. And since I was a little kid, I can remember having no barking, lots of symptoms of Lyme disease. Playing soccer and basketball with my friends on the teams, and running up and down the field or the court and asking my friends, do you have this horrible pain in your knees or your elbows? Do you feel that too? Or do you have trouble breathing? Do you feel that? And almost every time they're like, no, I don't feel that way, and so I kind of learned from the beginning that I just wasn't like other kids, and that I just kind of started keeping it to myself, because my parents I'm so blessed to have them in my life, but they would, they'd take me to the knee specialist and the back specialist and the feet specialist. It's just insane how many doctors and specialists I've been to, just thinking of when I was a child, and then not even considering the whole mental health portion. Like, that's just a whole other era of my life, that it feels like is almost like a dream at this point. Just all the insanity. But the doctors wouldn't find anything, and my parents would be like, well, Rachel, we don't know why it hurt, and my dad's favorite mantra or motto is mind over matter, and I heard that so many times as a child that I was like, okay, mind over matter. I'll pretend it's not there, and I'll move on and stop complaining. And, sooner or later, I kind of hit teenagedom. I hit age 12, really, and my life really just kind of spun out of control. I didn't lots of suicide attempts, at least a monthly stay at the psychiatric hospital, so much medication. You could probably name an antidepressant or antipsychotic or anti-anxiety medication, and I have been on it. And to tell you the truth, I don't know how I didn't die from all that medication, because knowing now that I'm dealing with an autoimmune disease, and is probably why I kept getting crazier and crazier, because the bacteria, my immune system was getting weaker and weaker from all of the medication that I shouldn't have been on, and I ended up just getting crazier and crazier because the bacteria kept growing and growing in my brain, so I had less and less blood flow, which is what they finally got to see when they gave me a SPECT scan, which is a SPECT brain scan, which, unlike an MRI or a CAT scan, measures the activity in your brain rather than just taking pictures. And they finally could see why I was so crazy, and why I was dealing with all of the learning disorders, and why I couldn't remember, why I could reread a paragraph over and over and over and over and could not remember what I had just read. And you could tell me your name 20 times and I won't remember it. You could be my best friend and I will blank on your name and I won't remember your birthday. And people that know me at this point really, they get it. Like, they know I'm a good person and I don't do things maliciously or on purpose. But I also still deal with co-infections, but I was able to get rid of Bartonella, Babesia, I'm sorry, which is a co-infection that you can get at the same time as the tick bite, which is the Lyme disease. And for years and years it caused my insomnia, my night terrors, my night sweats. It's a distant cousin of malaria that you don't die from, and people don't look for it. But once I got rid of it, I got rid of those 3 symptoms that seriously made my life a living hell for as long as I could remember. At this point in my life, I have been able to drop the diagnosis of bipolar disorder, drop the diagnosis of borderline schizophrenic. I've really been able, I had 14 months of IV antibiotics, which really, really allowed me to clear the bacteria out of my brain and really allowed me to start thinking clearly for the first time since I was like 12 or 13 years old. when I started treatment, I started having, I almost didn't make it through treatment, to be totally honest. You get these things called Herxheimer reactions, which is, when you go to the doctor and they tell you you're going to feel worse before you feel better when they put you on antibiotics. It's because, you have to flush the bacteria out of your system, or the virus or whatever is in your system before you start to feel better. But unfortunately, if you have 20 years worth of bacteria, and you're not able to flush it out faster than you kill it, your body basically gets septic, and you can die from just a massive overload of dead bacteria and live bacteria in your bloodstream. And I got really, really sick. Like I was housebound for almost 2 years. I really would have week-long hospital stays. Actually the most recent just really was me in September not taking care of my body as well as I needed to be. And there's actually another YouTube video called Rachel's Spasm that shows me in the hospital and shows how painful and ridiculous this bacteria can just overtake your body. And I deal with paralysis and the neurological symptoms of not being able to find words that I want to share with you. But I can tell you that I have gotten a lot better. I'm no longer in a wheelchair. I don't have the insanity in my head anymore, which is huge. I still deal with pain on a daily basis. I still deal with a lot of the neurological kind of memory lapses, and but I can tell you that I am currently a straight A fashion design student, and I am motivated and hardworking, and at this point in my life I can get through anything if I put my mind to it. And the CDC and stuff really wants to paint chronic Lyme patients as victims and hypochondriacs, and label chronic Lyme as a psychosomatic illness if you still have it after what I did, almost 3.5 years of antibiotics. And I know I still have Lyme disease, and I know I still have a ways to go. But I can tell you that I have come a hell of a long way. And I've gotten my life back. My husband is currently at school in the Army in Texas, and I know that very shortly here I could use to go back on to antibiotics. I've been getting lost a lot more, which is actually a big symptom of Lyme disease. If you go to the same place every day and you find yourself not remembering how to get to that place where you should be able to just drive on autopilot, it's a good chance you've got some brain fog going on. But there's a lot of things and a lot of pain that I'm still dealing with, and I know it's time, but I know that I can't do this without my husband here. And I like going to school, and I like being able to have my brain functioning and be almost 4.0 GPA student and have my life. But if I don't stay on top of it, I know that it could be where it was pretty quickly if I just don't take care of myself. So yeah, I think that's where I will end, and do another one here shortly, but I'm tired. So good night, and until we meet again.